So I know this deck looks really expensive because of all the ultra rares, but because of the recent pickup box that is just released, it is actually pretty easy to get all the cards that you need. All of the old Blackluster soldiers, the Super Soldier, the regular BLS, and Envoy of the Beginning, they're all from a pickup box, as you can see. It is out right now, and it is extremely tiny. It only has 30 packs, and you can just open it a couple of times, and you will basically get all the boss monsters that you need for the deck. So yeah, BLS is an archetype that's based around BLS, and it's pretty bad. The normal Blackluster Soldier is a non-effect monster, and it's a ritual that doesn't really do a whole lot. So we have a whole bunch of support that tries to make it better. We have retrains of Blackluster Soldier that actually has effects. We have other cards that give it effects. But the only thing that actually makes this deck good is entirely because of a broken skill. Like a lot of the other anime decks, these archetypes are completely saved by Konami just giving us a completely broken skill that fixes all the problems and makes this deck extremely consistent, gives the deck some kind of one-card combo, and yeah. Let's go over cards. First is a Blackluster Soldier Legendary Swordsman, that's the new one. You can ritual summon this card using whatever. It must be ritual summoned during your draw phase. Before you draw, you can reveal this card in your hand, and then you can give up your normal draw, but you add a ritual spell from your deck to your hand. You would never activate this effect, basically. Your opponent can activate cards or effects during the battle phase. This is really good. Shuts off battle traps, including monster effects when they're destroyed. And when this attacking card that is ritual summoned using a normal monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can shuffle all cards your opponent controls back to the deck. It's a really powerful board wipe effect, and also you just need one of its materials to be a normal monster. You don't need all level 8 monsters to be normal monsters. You can use a Dark Magician from the graveyard plus any other effect monster, and that will still give it the additional effect. Next is a BLS Super Soldier. This is the slightly older retrain. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the attack from the graveyard. And if this card is destroyed by battle, or destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon a Gaia from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Even though we're not playing any Gaia monsters, we will have access to them using our skill. Next is the regular BLS. It doesn't have any effects, but it is by far the best one to have in our hand because the skill just makes it good. The skill has gives us an additional ritual spell if we control the normal BLS, so this is the card that we want in our hand the most. Next is the BLS Envoy of the Beginning. This is not a ritual monster, but it can be special summoned by banishing a light and a dark from the graveyard. And once per turn, you can activate one of the effects. You can target a monster on the field, banish it, but this card cannot attack. And if this attacking card destroys an opponent's monster by battle after calculation, it can attack again. So it's an additional beater that could also remove your opponent's problem boss monsters. Next is Kiteroid, because this deck really struggles going first. Kiteroid will help you just not die. And also, it synergizes pretty well with the skill. The skill allows you to return banished cards back to the graveyard. That means you get additional uses for a single Kiteroid. For back row, we're playing 1 Terraforming to search our field spell, 2 Cosmic Cyclones, because it's a good card, and also tunes are running around, so you might want to bring some Cosmic Cyclones just to deal with your opponent's Toon Kingdom. Our field spell will be Gateway to Chaos. This is our main searcher to search our BLS. It is obtainable from 2 structure decks, so it is pretty easy to get. We have 1 copy of Chaos Form. This is searchable with our skill, and it will be used to summon our Legendary Swordsman by using a Dark Magician in our graveyard, so it will give it the additional normal monster effect. For our traps, we're playing 2 copies of Super Soldier Shield. If your opponent targets your BLS with any effect, you can negate and destroy that card. And also, if it's in the graveyard, you can remove a spell counter to set it back to your field, but it is banished when it leaves the field. And the way you're going to get spell counters is with your field spell. Your field spell just gains a whole bunch of counters every time a monster is sent from your field to the graveyard. And finally, of course, there is 3 copies of Cloak and Dagger, just a really good free-to-play trap overall. For our extra deck, we're playing all Link monsters because the skill doesn't let us play any monsters with a level or rank. So we're just playing all the generic links that we could play with Power Code Talker, Reproducus, plus Lumino, Code Talker, ×2, God Saber, Link Disciple, and Pentastag. You could play whatever links you have. If you have Nightmares, you can play those. And for the skill, that's what makes this deck work. The Soul of Light and Darkness. It's a pretty long skill, but basically what it does is, you see this large list of monsters, it sends them to your graveyard at the beginning of your turn, at the beginning of the duel, actually. So you get Dark Magician, Charging Gaia, Rising Gaia, Mystical Elf, Kuribos, Free Kuribo, and Super Soldier Ritual. All 7 of these cards will be in your graveyard when you begin the duel. That is crazy because Super Soldier Ritual has an effect to banish itself from the graveyard to special summon a BLS Ritual monster from your hand, and that will be your main way to summon your Ritual monsters, because as you can see in our deck, we only actually have a single Ritual spell, and that might seem pretty weird, but because of our skill, we can basically just constantly cheat out the Ritual monsters from our hand without even needing to Ritual summon. And also, once per turn, if you special summon a BLS monster, you could add a BLS that has a different name from your cards from the field or graveyard, and then return up to 3 banished cards back to the graveyard, because Super Soldier Ritual will banish itself plus 2 other monsters to summon a Ritual from your hand. You can just return all 3 of them back to the graveyard and then just repeat every single turn. That is really, really good. So basically you get unlimited activations of Super Soldier Ritual as long as you could activate your skill. And also, if you control the regular BLS, the one without effects, you could also set a Ritual spell from your deck to the field. And we will be setting a copy of Chaos Form. So basically, if we have a single BLS, the normal BLS, this single card could get us 2 monsters on the field. It could get itself using the Super Soldier Ritual in the graveyard with our skill, and then we can activate the skill's second effect to grab ourselves the Legendary Swordsman, and then set Chaos Form, activate Chaos Form, and now we have 2 monsters using only 1 card in our hand. That's basically the 1 card combo of the deck. Okay, so let's talk about the expensive version modifications that you could make to the deck. You would want to play more copies of the regular BLS because it works well with the skill. If you have 3 copies, you should play 3. You might also want to play copies of Manju or Senju of the Thousand Hands. There's basically do the same because you're only gonna search monsters anyway. So let's see, where is Manju? Okay, here it is. Manju could add a ritual monster or ritual spell, but because you're not gonna ritual summon using a ritual spell anyway, you're gonna use your the ritual spell in your graveyard with the skill. Using Manju or Senju doesn't really matter that much. So that will give you more consistent ways of opening with BLS, and also because you don't really need your normal summon, so Manju will be good for that purpose. You can use your normal summon on that. Also, instead of playing Kiteroid or the counter trap or your Cloak and Daggers, you could just play more expensive back row, stuff like a Book of Moon, or you could play limit free traps. You can play any of the limit free traps like Lost Wind, Ice Dragon's Prison, Crackdown, Compulse, or even like Warning Point. Because there's so much space for back row, you could just play whatever you want, because a single ritual monster in your hand basically already makes deck work. It's a 1-card combo, so you could just load your deck up with as many back row as you want, and that is one huge advantage of the deck. And for the extra deck, you can just play whatever links that you have. You can play the Nightmares as a better link monster option, but usually you won't go into the extra deck anyway. Usually you're just gonna make your BLS and just attack with them, so it doesn't really matter that much what you put in the extra deck, but it's good to have them just in case. Okay, so the advantages of the deck is obviously it's really consistent because if you have a BLS in your hand, you get full combo, and there are like a billion ways to search BLS. You have different versions of BLS, and they all work, even though the normal one will be the best. You have the field spell, you have a spell that searches this field spell, you have Manju, you have Senju. There are plenty of ways to get BLS to your hand, and consistency will usually not be an issue. Second of all, this deck has a bunch of space to play heavy back row because the deck is really consistent and it has one card combos. You have plenty of space to play all the staples you want to counter whatever meta is going on right now. And three, Legendary Swordsman has a really good board wipe effect. And shuffling all cards your opponent controls back to deck is just really, really strong. It's kind of like Time Lords. And the cons, obviously, if your opponent has a way to banish your ritual spell from your graveyard, that completely stops your combo. If your opponent has something like a DD Crow, you just lose because you have no way of summoning your BLS from your hand. Also, any anti-graveyard cards like Skullmeister, Artifact Lancia will also, or even like a Chaos Hunter would prevent you from using the Ritual Spells effect from your graveyard, and that will severely hinder the deck. And also the inability to play basically any other thing other than BLS really hurts the versatility of the deck a bit. So you can't play a lot of different stuff that you might want to play inside the deck. Even though the skill doesn't really restrict you from playing anything, it restricts what you can summon. So what people usually do is they play the Trickstar engine, because the skill doesn't restrict you from normal summoning, so you can normal summon whatever you want. What people would do is they'll play 3 copies of Candina and 1 copy of Light Stage, and basically that gives you an extra monster on field and also a way to get rid of your opponent's back row, because the Light Stage can clear your opponent's set back row. So that might be something you want to consider in the expensive version as well. But yeah, this deck also sucks going first because all of your BLSs don't really do anything going first, and if you play other BLS support, you risk breaking. So the BLSs have good effects going second. Super Soldier deals effect damage, Legendary Swordsman clears your opponent's entire board. But if you're going first, you're most likely going to rely on either hand traps like Kiteroid or heavy back row. So yeah, let's get into the replays. Okay, our first game is against Toon. Our opponent is playing Pegasus. That's a pretty big hint of what our opponent is playing. And Toons are pretty annoying. If we don't have an out to Toon Kingdom, we're pretty much screwed. But thankfully, we drew the out. So let me show you what our mainline combo will be. He activates Lancia, that's a bit too late. We already banished the cards that we need. We're gonna banish the Ritual plus a Mystical Elf and a Kuribo to summon the regular BLS, activate our skill, return those back to the graveyard for next turn, set a Chaos Form for next turn, and then we're gonna set 2 and pass. Normally we could also activate Chaos Form, but because he activated Lancia, we can't. So he's gonna normal summon Toon Dark Magician and activate Toon World. He's gonna use the Toon Table of Contents to grab Toon Bookmark to grab Toon Kingdom, and it would be a really bad situation for us if we didn't draw exactly Cosmic Cyclone. But thankfully we did, so it shouldn't be that big of a problem. And even if we didn't, our opponent can't really beat over our monster. And also, he can't attack during the turn it's summoned, so what we can do is just make our ritual monsters, use the Graveyard effect to summon one, use the ritual spell to summon the other. We could activate Cosmic Cyclone to get rid of our opponent's Toon Kingdom, and we're just gonna attack with all the BLS monsters that we have on field. We're gonna deal a bit of effect damage, and just attack with the normal BLS, and that would be the game. Here is our second game, and our opponent is playing Raging Pendulum. Okay, let's see what we can do with our hand. We're gonna load up our graveyard with all the stuff that we need, and yeah, we have a ritual, and that's all we need. We're gonna use the Super Soldier ritual, banishing Mystical Elf and Kuribo to summon Super Soldier. It is a bit less good than the regular BLS, So we're gonna grab the regular BLS for next turn. So when we have the regular BLS on the field, we can also grab the ritual spell, and that allows us to make 2 ritual monsters instead of 1. Our opponent is going to set scales, activate his skill, grab back a Noble Dragon Magician, Dragon Pop Super Soldier's Shield. Before he Pendulum summons, we're gonna declare Odd Eyes with our Cloak. He's gonna summon the Odd Eyes, so we're gonna just banish it. Say goodbye to your Odd Eyes. So at least he couldn't make Odd Eyes raging this turn. He's going to normal summon Zorua and make a Dark Rebellion. That would be bad news if we didn't have a Kite Road in our hand, but thankfully we do, so we're not really afraid of being OTK'd by Dark Rebellion. He's gonna deal a whole bunch of battle damage, but that's fine. We don't even need to use our Kite Road because we can just summon back the Charging Gaia when our Super Soldier is destroyed by a battle. We're gonna use the Super Soldier ritual from the graveyard to summon the BLS from my hand, activate our skill, and because we have the normal BLS, we can set Chaos Form, and then activate it, banishing a Dark Magician plus a Sphere Karibo in our graveyard to summon the Legendary Swordsman from our hand. We're gonna attack our opponent's monster, and because we destroyed our opponent's monster by battle, we can shuffle our opponent's entire board back to the deck. And that clears our opponent's Dark Rebellion, and we can just attack for a game. In our third game, we're playing against Playmaker, and we will soon discover that he's playing Trickstars, but he's not actually using the Blue Angel skill. I guess some people just really like free effects, and they're just gonna play it even if Holy Angel Trick is probably a better skill for Trickstars. It does pretty much the same thing, but I guess people just like playing free effects for some reason. Anyway, he's gonna use free effects, gain a bit of life points. He's not gonna draw 2, which is interesting. We're gonna Cosmic Cycle his back row away, we'll take a bit of effect damage, and we're gonna activate our field spell to grab ourselves the regular BLS, and then we're gonna, again, because we activated a spell, we're gonna take a whole bunch of damage. That's okay. We're gonna banish the Super Soldier Ritual plus a Mystical Elf and Karibo to summon the normal BLS, which will be Ice Dragon Prisoned. That's fine. It's not really good, but the skill can still activate if we summon the BLS this turn. It doesn't have to stay on the field. As long as we summoned a BLS this turn, we could activate the skill to grab another BLS for next turn. And because we have Kite Road in our hand, we're pretty safe from our opponent's OTK. We're gonna Cloak and Dagger to declare Trickstar Candino, and he's gonna activate Fez and make the link free. He's gonna deal another bunch of effect damage. I'm just gonna wait until he finishes dealing effect damage. He's gonna try to attack. We are going to block that with Kite Roid, and then we're gonna Kite Roid to block the second attack. And then Super Soldier Ritual during our turn can again summon a BLS from our hand. This time our opponent has nothing to respond, so we can just safely grab ourselves a Legendary Swordsman, return the Kite Roid back to the graveyard to prevent our opponent from attacking directly. I'm gonna activate Chaos Form that we set from our skill to summon a Legendary Swordsman. And I attack our opponent's Link Free, and I forget that Holy Angel protects his monsters from being destroyed by battle. So we're gonna try to destroy the Holy Angel, but he has Fest in the graveyard, so he's gonna protect that as well. That should be fine, because our monsters all have higher attack than his Trickstar, so we could summon another BLS. He's gonna Warning Point that to prevent us from attacking with all of our monsters, but we can still attack over his Holy Angel, beating over his Fez. And he's gonna normal summon Candina, and we still have a Cloak on the field, which will be able to banish the Candina when it's summoned. He's gonna grab a third Fez, and then realizes that he can't really beat over our monsters, and he's just going to scoop. Good game.